Welcome to The Backstory. I'm Robert. Today I'm joined by Jefferson Bethke. I'm so excited that you're here. You're everything. Like, you do social media, YouTube,
write books,
parents, writing books. Like, you've got so much going on. We're honored that you're here.
Thanks, man.
Tell me, what are you excited about right now?
Well, we just talked about this off camera, so I don't know how much you want me to go on. What excites me? A couple different things. I'll do two. I'll do one in the personal life, one in the professional life.
Love it.
Yeah. So I'd say personal life, one thing I'm excited about is we have 3 kids, and there's just this fun season we've entered with being now a family of 5, where our 2 oldest have kind of taken on such a really cool dynamic with our youngest, and that's just so fun to watch. It's
how much of an age difference are we talking?
Almost 1 year old is the youngest, 3-year-old boy, and then a 5-year-old girl as the oldest. And so it's just fun because before they 2 kind of were, at each other's necks and all that, and now they've kind of taken ownership over, like, let's all protect and care for the baby.
Cute.
And that's kind of a cool thing, so that's fun. Professionally, I'd probably say, even just, there's a couple different things, but I'd say this book that I just wrote, To Hell with the Hustle, I'm on a tour right now talking all about it. So to me, it's really exciting because I think some people, in this world, like I was even talking to my publicist the other day, and she was like, some people, they write a book and they don't want to talk about it, and they get all super, grumpy, I'm like, man, I love that, like, I get to go around and talk about it, and so really excited about that message in the book.
Can you share a little bit of where did the inspiration for this book come from?
Yeah. So the first paragraph on the first page kind of gives it away, but basically a recurring fight that me and Alyssa started to have. In that sense of just, I think I was mid-20s at this point, I'm 30 now, so 4 or 5 years ago, we just started to realize, man, that, like, whatever trajectory that we feel like we need to be on, specifically with this millennial internet 21st century culture, it wasn't leading to where we wanted to actually go. It wasn't turning us into the people we actually wanted to be, right? And so then kind of took a couple years to kind of diagnose the problem. And hustle is a catch-all term. I don't think that's like right on the nose, but we use that as a catch-all term for just hustle, hurry, this culture of like millennials have to peak again, 2 years after college and have the best job and the best marriage and the best this. Just there's a lot of cultural pressure.
Totally.
And so the book was written from that problem, and then trying to cultivate solutions, and kind of us as a family leaning really heavily back into spiritual practices like Sabbath, silence, obscurity, which is kind of a random one that I don't hear a lot about, but actually trying to be hidden, is kind of a funny spiritual practice, but I think necessary in our internet age.
Oh yeah.
So that's where it came from.
So writing a book is a pretty stressful process.
Yeah. I do love it, but
I've helped Bobby a little bit with the other end of it, but
marketing a book is stressful. I don't feel like writing a book is stressful.
That's more my end. But you have to meet deadlines, and it's a lot going on. And then on the flip side, you're writing a book that's really about stepping back a little bit. Was there a dichotomy happening as you were writing the book? Like, how did that play out?
At some level, yes, but it's even worse right now promoting the book. Right? So it's like I've had to tell my publisher, like, guys, like, are we going to be honest to the message?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just they're trying to just kill me.
Exactly.
The last request. And so, and when I get it, and I talked about this on stage, Bobby, I think what we have to realize is it's okay to sprint, but it's not okay to sprint for sprint's sake. You know what I mean? Like, there's little parts of the whole life is a marathon, and it's okay to give yourself a little gas on some parts of that. But if you're trying to sprint the whole marathon, you'll die and pass out, and you won't go across the finish line. And so I think that's the tension we have to wrestle with. And then it's usually kind of where it gets problematic is when it's going down to layers of identity that a lot of us are sprinting for sprinting's sake, going so fast, going so hurried because we're trying to tell ourselves that we are something. We need to hear something. We need to feel something, and that's where I think it becomes really not the best.
That makes sense. So you have a family of 5.
Yep.
There's no slowing down there either.
No.
I would guess.
Especially because the kids have my energy too. So. Yes.
Awesome.
Which my wife loves and hates at the same time.
So how do you guys?
Why are they so clones of you?
It's a blessing.
Right?
So how do you guys celebrate Sabbath together?
Yeah. So that's a really good question because it's a practice we've practiced for 5 years now. And I remember at the beginning, there's a level of like you can be all spiritual and cute with the Sabbath until you have toddlers, and it's like doesn't matter what we call it, it's still not restful, right? So there's a level of that. But I actually still think God is like, if it's woven into the fabric of the universe, which I believe it is, right? Tell me one of the 10 commandments that anyone else thinks is a suggestion, right? No one goes, oh, don't murder? No, that's Old Testament. Don't covet? No, that's Old Testament. Take a Sabbath? Like, no, that's Old Testament. That's what we say, though.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and we see it, and again, just like the design of marriage, where the Pharisees go to the law, right? Jesus says, no, I'm going to go to creation, male plus female, right? There's a creation narrative happening. I think Sabbath's the same. It's woven into the fabric of the universe that we are designed to live in rhythm. I don't necessarily think it needs to mean this day and that, and it's made for us, it's a gift, it's a blessing. But I think, so what it looks like for us usually is you want to design a day this is the easiest. People get really caught up on the details, right? Okay, I'm going to take a Sabbath. What days I have to be? What can I do? What can I not do? It's super chill and easy. The Lord just wants to fill you and bless you and have you take a day of rest and cease from this American crazy culture, right? And there's two ways to know what to do and not do. It's what drains you and what gives you life, right? So for us, with this season with kids, that usually means the easiest thing with kids is getting outside. When we get outside, they don't fight as much. They're not as internal as much, right? So like we just get outside on Sabbath. We eat really good food. We usually have fun little family dance parties. We'll go to some friends' houses sometimes, just whatever it takes to give you life. And if it's, or I'll garden. I love gardening on Sabbath.
Oh, nice.
It sounds like work, right? Like it's actually, for me, that's the hardest I work. Because I type on a computer. So actually working in the yard is the hardest I work.
I have to break a sweat.
Yes, right? So it's the hardest I absolutely work. So I think that shows, though, that cool tension of the spirit of Sabbath is not about just like technical work, right? We're not going to get all Orthodox Jewish where you can't touch the elevator button and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's where it just goes off the rails, and I think Jesus makes that clear. So yeah, so that's where I would say is just what gives you life. Practice a day that does that, and the cool part is it's a practice. A lot of Christians, we shoot for spiritual perfection, not spiritual formation. There's two different things, right? We want it to be like, we want it to be the ideal, and if not, we say we failed. Spiritual formation is about doing something over and over again until you die, and maybe you're decent at it 50 years from now, right? There's like no pressure, and Sabbath is like that. You get 52 practices a year.
That's awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about your other endeavors you've got. You've got some new things going on that you're excited about.
Yeah, so there's an adventure we have called Family Teams, and that's a really fun thing that me and my wife do now that kind of takes up most of our time. And we call it Family Teams because we kind of make this argument that we believe that the family in the West and the way we've made family to be is kind of a failed experiment. We believe that the individual is the most important thing in the West, right? And that family is nothing more than just a launching pad for the individual success of each person. And I just think the experiment has shown like, no, that's not it. It's failed. And I think the scriptures kind of do a little bit more of an opposite, a mirror of that, which to me is, in Genesis, you see that God's design for blessing the world was building a multi-generational family team on mission, right? So he gives them a mission, go create, go subdue, go cultivate, go make the earth look good and bring blessing and beauty into it. He says you're not going to be able to do it alone, you're not an individual, you're a team, the two will become one flesh. And then he says it's a huge job, it's going to take a long time, have a lot of babies, it's going to be multi-generational, right? And so I think, man, that is God's design, and whether we're in a nuclear family, because I'm not talking about that, all of us have a last name. We're all in a family, single, married, whatever. And so I think living and understanding that God actually cares about our lineages and our family stories and our legacies and what that means for then actually bringing blessing and goodness into our home and our lives is really, really important.
That is awesome. Where did that come from? Like, was this...
Just randomly, you mean, or what do you mean?
Yeah, like what was the origin for that?
So our mentors, so familyteams.com, if people go to it, there's a whole kind of Start Here tab that explains a lot of this. But our mentors kind of were the first people. This is just a seed of thought that the Lord put on his heart like 20 years ago.
How cool.
He's a prominent figure in kind of the Cincinnati area and does ministry in this regard. And it is something that just has kind of been a groundswell for the last couple of decades for them that when they got in our life, blessed us. And now we're trying to talk about it to other people.
That's awesome. So final question on the backstory is always the hardest one. And I had a different one for you, but I'm changing it on the fly.
Okay.
Yes. So you like Legos. We were talking about this beforehand. What is the most epic Lego set you've ever seen and also built?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I would say, I like nerd out on Legos. I know when like the first patent of the minifigure was, when the first...
Which was when?
It was like 1972, 1958 was when the first Lego brick, I think, was patented. I love Lego. And that's another thing, too. I call it Legos just because that sounds more appropriate. Technically, it's Lego, plural or singular.
It's true.
But it just sounds weird to say that, so I just say Legos. A couple different ones. I would say the Disney Castle, which is like a 4,000 piece one, that's the biggest one we've ever built. I think that's like third or fourth largest ever that Lego's ever built. That was fun. But then I'm really bummed they made it so small. It was only like a 500 piece set. But it is my favorite, and it's the Marty McFly DeLorean dock. And so that they don't have that anymore. That's whatever you call that, off the rotation or production. So that feels limited edition now. But yeah, me and my wife have an ongoing argument because I built these gorgeous 20-foot. I'm tooting my horn right now. 20-foot built-ins in our living room with like all of our books and nice stuff, and it's just for like a centerpiece in our living room. These shelves, and I said, hey, I built these, so I get some of this real estate
for the Lego sets.
And she just hates that. She just thinks that. She's like, these got to go in your office. These need to leave.
Would they even fit in your office, though, to be honest?
Wouldn't.
Yeah, I can't picture that.
Exactly. So if you ever come over, it's like they're like shrines all up on the shelves, and she loves it and hates it.
That is very cool. Well, great answer. Thank you for being on the backstory. Make sure to check out Jeff's interview with Bobby on Hour of Power, and also go to jeffandalyssa.com to find out more about what's going on in his world.